Welcome to the Nas Boys podcast. So today we got another interview for you guys. This time we got an interview with Barrett Polhemus. He is a super late model driver, and he is going to technically be our first NASCAR sanctioned driver because he got his NASCAR license to drive in the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. So Barrett, thank you so much for joining the show, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great tonight, y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on once again. So we're going to start off with the question that, we always ask our guests. How did you get into NASCAR?
Well, it all started when I was one, when the movie Cars came out. Cars has been basically my inspiration for this entire passion. I don't know what it is about it. It's just stuck with me the first time I saw it. And all throughout when I was little, that was my go-to movie. It was my favorite. It got to the point where I would memorize where the racing scenes were, and I would only watch those, and I would leave when they weren't on, and I would come back when it came on again. So the movie Cars has been my root inspiration for all this.
Awesome, man. I was a big fan of Cars too when I was little.
I feel like Cars is always it's a part of every race fan's childhood of the generation. I mean, so many kids found NASCAR through Cars, and a lot of people are Cars fans.
It's a great movie. It's been around for a while too, and it's great to see that it still has an influence.
Oh yeah. Another question that I have is, what made you decide that you wanted to race late models?
Well, I mean, it was just naturally the next step for me. I mean, I raced quarter midgets, which are basically like carts. If you think about go-karts on the road, but they're basically carts for ovals. So I raced those for about 3 years. And then naturally the next step was to go to late models. I raced a dirt micro sprint for a little bit, but it didn't have the same kick to it as late models did for me. So if my end goal was NASCAR, then late models just seemed like the next logical step for me.
Awesome.
I do all my racing out in California because pretty much everything here is a dirt track. We have like one asphalt track in the state of Texas, and that's Houston Motorsports Park, and I don't think they even race late models there. So it's not very big, and other than that, I mean, it's COTA and Texas Motor Speedway, and then that's it as far as asphalt goes, and everything else is dirt. So I don't really enjoy dirt. It's fun to watch, but it's not my thing, So we race out in California. That's where a lot of the best drivers are, and that's where our team is now. So that's like our main hub out there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was wondering because I looked up Texas paved ovals, and I couldn't find much information, and I was like, I wonder if there's any secret racing tracks, but there's not. And it's awesome. Your team's based in California.
How exactly do you get a NASCAR license? Do you have to take a test for it, or what's the procedure with that?
Well, I mean, my first NASCAR sanctioned race was the Chili Willy 150 at Tucson Speedway. I didn't know you had to have a NASCAR license to race. So we basically just went up to the registration tower and filled out an application for a license form, and then they shipped it off to Daytona to be approved. And it just came in the mail a couple of weeks ago. So it's a surprisingly simple process, really. And there's a lot of paperwork that you have to fill out, but I mean, there's no real test or anything like that. I'd imagine You can't just go and apply for a NASCAR license without any background, So that might be the only requirement, really.
Yeah,
as far as I know. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, it was really simple, really quick, and relatively easy.
Dang, that's a lot easier than I thought, because I saw your post. I'm like, does this guy have to take a test, or what's the procedure behind that?
Yeah, it was definitely.
What questions do you have?
I have two. Which my first one is, what's your most exciting part about being a late model driver? What do you look more forward to most when you go to a race?
That's a good question. Probably the competition aspect. I mean, the competition out there it's amazing. There's the best drivers in the country, and they're so evenly matched. You have to be perfect every single lap to stand a chance. And so my favorite part about it is the near constant wheel to wheel racing all the time. And for the most part, it's been really clean. Yeah, I mean, it's fun racing door to door, inches apart from each other, going that fast. So the competition aspect is probably the most exciting part about it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
some of those racing clips are crazy.
Yeah.
My second question is, if you made it to any of like the 3 major NASCAR series, what would be your biggest goal?
Well, I mean, obviously the end goal is to make it to the Cup Series and be successful there. But we all got to start somewhere. And I feel like I've started to work my way up the ladder already, obviously with a license and driving some NASCAR sanctioned events in the super late model. Excuse me. Hopefully we can get in a truck soon. I think I'm not 100% sure yet, but I may be able to run the Martinsville race this upcoming spring. So that'll be fun. But as far as full-time racing goes, obviously we'd start in the trucks. I don't really see the allure of ARCA very much. I mean, I have a PR guy that I talked to about it. He's in the racing business big time. And he tells me that ARCA is not really worth the money. I mean, because you pay so much to get in and apparently you get so little back. But also, I mean, you have to have like the top ride to even have a chance at winning. And there's only like 1 or 2 teams that are capable of that.
Right.
And no offense to the other teams, it'd be fun to race, no question about it. But I mean, if I'm going to race, I want to have a shot at a win and I want to be successful. I don't just want to ride around in the back. You know what I'm saying? So, so trucks would probably be from here the next step. And I want to be able to get into a competitive ride there and ultimately contend for wins and the championship. I think that's really what any driver in my situation's goal would be. But that's also the hard part about it, because there's so many of us. Like there's just entire divisions dedicated to young drivers. Luckily, I'm one of the older ones. So I have a little bit of a head start on them there. But other than that, I mean, it's real close. I think a big deciding factor is going to be money. And I believe that we have the money to at least run part-time schedules, but I don't know about full-time. So, my thought process behind it is to be so good that they have no choice but to hire you, no matter how much cash you're carrying. Because then even if I just get a good truck ride, like say I get hired by, I don't know, GMS, just off of, hopefully mainly off of skill, then I feel like I'll have a really solid backing to move up the ranks through the Xfinity Series and through the Cup Series, which is ultimately my goal. And so one day I hope to be having a successful Cup career and win a lot of races and a lot of championships.
Awesome.
I said 2 questions. I'm gonna add a third one on here because this is a great question I thought about, which was how old were you when you got into like actually racing?
I didn't start racing until I was 10. And in modern racing nowadays, that's really, really late. A lot of the kids that I'm racing against now and have raced against started when they were 5. And so that's 5 or 6 years that I lost in terms of experience. And so that's definitely been a really big challenge for me, is trying to catch up to them.
Right.
You can never catch up 5 years of experience in a couple weeks. Experience will always be something that will be gained with time, and you can't gain it overnight. but you can get enough reps underneath you and get enough practice in that you can make up the gap in experience by being fast enough. Been able to overcome it pretty well. And I'm just looking to get as much experience as I can to bridge the gap.
Yeah, hope you kick butt, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I was going to say, there's big things ahead, and very excited to see things that's been going on. And I was going to ask you, I meant to ask this earlier, but what's some of your favorite tracks that you run? Because Madeira is one that I know you've ran at, but what's some of your favorite tracks that you've competed at?
Well, besides Madeira, I've really only raced late models 2 other places, and that's Tucson and Irwindale. And out of those 2, I'd have to say that Tucson is probably my favorite because I actually got to race. In Irwindale, I made a mistake and I wrecked it in practice, so I wasn't even able to race. But Irwindale was really tough for me because you have to drive the car so much farther into the corner than you think you have to. Mm-hmm. So I was giving up probably 2/10 of time on the entry to the corner alone. I feel like the center and the exit part were decent. They could still be better, but I think the entry was definitely where I was lacking the most. Irwindale is a half mile. You're hauling into the corners at 125 mile an hour. It feels a lot slower than that until you get to the corner, and then you realize how fast you're going. So I think conquering those half miles is just a part of overcoming that fear factor that's there. But anyways, Tucson is just like a smaller Irwindale. Irwindale is usually a top dominant groove track, and that's the same thing with Tucson. It's like middle groove, but it's really wide. So you can run pretty much anywhere. There's not really much grip up by the fence, but there's the apron, which is the very bottom, and then it goes up pretty banked. There's like a groove there, like a seam, and you can visually see it on the track too. And you want to, hang on. Okay, I was getting another call. Sorry. But anyways, you can see the groove where the banking changes on the track. And it's tough to run down low on the bottom, but if you hook it like on the actual apron and keep part of your car on the track, it helps rotate the car really well. And if you can carry enough speed through there, you can beat the more throttle time and more momentum that they have up top and make the pass on them. So I came from the back quite a bit during that race. I passed a lot of cars. It was just a great time. It was a really fun track. And I'm sure Irwindale would be the same way. But when I had the opportunity to drive Irwindale, it was really fun too. So really just put me on the track, and I think I'll enjoy it pretty well.
Nice.
Right. I really like that mindset there.
Yes, for sure. And I was going to also ask, was there any drivers that you looked up to growing up, or any like favorite drivers in particular? It could be any series.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of them really, and a lot of them have been really recent. So when I was younger, my favorite driver was Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was like my idol pretty much. But as I got older, I got more in depth into like the history of the sport, and then I was really, really attracted to Jeff Gordon. I think, in my opinion, he's the best NASCAR driver to ever do it. The stats may not show that, but I think he is. And then I've recently gotten into Formula One as a huge interest of mine, and one of the main people I've looked at from its history is Ayrton Senna. Just watching him drive from the highlights that I've seen, it's amazing. Yeah. I want to be that good. I want to be that fast. And he was a really good person too, and I want to be able to be that person. So not only is he a role model for me on the track, but as well as off the track and just general everyday life. It's 100%. Yeah, it's a really cool thing.
Right. Barrett, my final question for you tonight is, what advice could you give to any other younger drivers that may be watching this episode right now?
My biggest piece of advice for them is don't ever think that you can't do it. If you think that you can and you never think that you can't, then, I mean, you're unstoppable. Right. You may have off days. Everyone has off days. It's just part of it. But if you can rebound and bounce back from that, then that's one of the most powerful tools you can have. Racing is an extremely mental sport. And so you need to keep a positive mentality whenever you can. No matter how hard you get knocked down, you have to get back up. Don't ever think that you can't do it, because you can do it. And I'm living proof of that right now. So, I mean, yeah, that's one thing that they should carry with them for a while.
Right. I definitely agree with that. Is there any other questions you guys may have?
I don't have any more, but I just would say, wish you the best with your career, Barrett. And, you know, I've known you for a couple of years now, and I've seen the progression. And I just want to say congrats again on receiving your NASCAR license. And, you know, we hope to see you achieve your goals, and I think that you can. And, you know, it was kind of funny also, you were mentioning your favorite driver growing up was Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon. They're right there.
Hey, how about that? I didn't notice it. I've been looking at my camera the whole time to make it not seem like I'm looking down the entire time. I just noticed that. That's really cool.
What about you, Cam?
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. I thank you for having your time, taking your time out today, and, you know, coming on the podcast and talking with the boys. You know, I appreciate it, man. I hope you have a good career, dude.
Yeah, definitely what they said. Thank you so much, Barrett. Thank you for coming on. Congratulations once again on all your success. I wish you the best of luck. And, you know, you were talking about going to the truck series or for running a race. I would love to see you do that. I'll be pulling for you, and I will really be following your career. And, yeah, I think that's going to conclude the interview. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow all our socials. They're going to be up in the description. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
Calling out, you want me calling out. You wanted what I think. All these women lie, push me to the brink. She only calling night after Kelly's or the